Good day, Junior Turkeys. This is Mrs. DeMelon, and today we're continuing with activity 4, but now looking at posting to the general ledger. So activity part A was posting to the CPJ, and now we are going to post the salaries journal, the wages journal, and the cash payments journal to the general ledger. So when we look at posting, it is important to note that the posting for the salaries journal and the wages journal and the CPJ to the general ledger is a bit confusing. So if I look at the summary here, you must know that we have, for every debit, there must be a corresponding credit. So the debits in the general ledger refers to the total cost to company. The gross salary regarding that is included in this gross salary is included the deductions here, and then the additional perks, so the additional contributions that the business makes towards the employees' funds. So those are all the debits, and the corresponding credits will be to the different fund accounts. So the debits is the total cost to company, and then the credits is the funds, because from your salary is deducted your income tax, UIF, medical aid, pension fund, and then obviously what's left over is paid to you in cash. But these deductions is owed to the funds, so to SARS, to UIF, to, for instance, Discovery or Momentum or whoever it might be. And then the additional cost to company will be out of the business pocket. They will contribute towards your UIF, skills levy, your pension fund, and the medical aid. So when we post, there's basically 3 steps. So the debits is the total cost to company, the gross salary, and then the compulsory contributions and the voluntary contributions, and then owed to the institution is the credits. So the credits will then be the money owed to the different people or institutions. In other words, the deductions and contributions that is paid towards the medical aid, pension fund, SARS, whoever it might be. And then lastly, we have to post the CPJ. In other words, the CPJ, the rule says credit bank and debit the rest. So we will debit the CPJ payment is the deduction and the contribution paid on the date of payment. We are going to debit the contra account, which will be SARS or pension fund or medical aid or UIF and credit bank. So the posting double entry from the CPJ is that we will credit bank and debit the contra accounts, where from the salaries and wages journals, the debits is the cost to company and the credits is the money owed to the institutions. And this will make a bit more sense when we look at the posting step by step. So if we now look at the salaries journal and the wages journal, we have to first think about step 1, posting the debits. So the debits will be the total cost to company. In other words, it will be the deductions and then that we have to pay. So the gross salary includes the deductions as the total cost to company, because the gross salary is split to the employees and the institutions. So what does the employee get? The net salary. And where does all the rest go? To UIF, medical aid, pension, and income tax. So the employee and the institutions becomes the current liabilities, therefore the credits, and the total cost to company is the expense. So if you then think about it, we will debit salaries and wages and then credit all the other institutions like SARS, pension fund, medical aid, creditors for salaries or wages. So that's the one part. So if we look at this, that entering the total debit cost to company for salaries and wages, we have to start our salaries and wages expense accounts as with a total brought forward from the list given to us. So the total brought forward 423,920 is given to us in the list of opening balances on the 1st of September. Then we post the total gross salary, the total cost to company. So gross salaries journal, 52,990 Rand. And this is the total gross salary for the month from the salaries journal. Then we do the same for the wages. Yet again, we bring the total brought forward from the opening balances given to me at the beginning of the activity. And now the difference between wages and salaries is wages is weekly. So I need to post every week. So here we go. Week 1, gross wages. Wages journal, month 9, week 1. So that's why I reference here 9-1. 6,145 Rand total gross wage. Then week 2, the 9th. Then the same, week 3 on the 16th. Week 4, the 23rd. And week 5, the 30th. So that is the total cost to company expense for the business, the total debits. And all you need to do to finish these accounts is obviously just to total up. So you total there and you total here. So all of these is the total cost to company. So the total debits for gross salaries or wages, which includes the deductions. So now we have to do the credit part, which is split into different things, which is split to SARS pay as you earn, UIF, medical aid, and that is all the deductions now. So if we look at the next slide, the credits is the money owed to the institutions. So first of all, we owe SARS. Now be careful, SARS pay as you earn income tax is only a deduction, where all the other ones has a deduction and a contribution. So when we post SARS pay as you earn, there was no opening balance because it is paid in the month that it is due. So we need to now just post the deductions from the salaries and the wages journal. So the first one will be on the 2nd of September, weekly for the wages, monthly for the salaries. So we reference here wages because this SARS pay as you earn or the income tax is part of the gross wages. So week 1, week 2, week 3, 4 and 5 for wages. So each week is posted separately on the date of at the end of the week, 524 Rand. And then we also need to bring or post from the salaries journal. So the total for SARS pay as you earn for the salaries journal is 11,921 Rand. And now we need to record the payment. So step 3 is then posting the CPJ. So we debit the contra account and credit bank on the date of payment. Now they say we pay SARS on the 30th. And so the total from the wages and the salaries must be paid. So SARS is paid in full on the 30th of September. So what is in full? We take the total 524, 524, 524, 524, 524 plus the 11,921 gives us the 14,541 Rand. Total income tax for wage journal and the salaries journal at the end of the month. And then SARS is closed off because it is paid in full, nothing is owed, no balance brought down or brought forward. Then we now need to look at the medical aid contribution. So for every debit, there's a corresponding credit. So the one debit for the deduction for medical aid will be part of the gross salaries or wages that we did in slide 1. And now the second part is the contribution. But the contribution has a cost to company part, the debit, and then the money owed to the institution. That's the credit part. So we need to record first debit, cost to company. So step 1 is recording the cost to company. So total expense brought forward from the previous month, from the list of opening balances is the 44,880. And then the business pays medical aid for each wage earner and each salary earner. So at the end of each week for the wages and the end of the month for the salaries, we need to post the total cost to company. So at the end of week 1, the medical aid for Star Med will be 340 Rand. Now, why do we reference medical aid Star Med? Because we are paying the money to the medical aid on behalf of the employee. So this is then owed to the fund, to the medical aid, and that is why the details is the medical aid name, or the medical aid current liability account is the reference. That's your contra account. So the debit is the total cost to company, contribution expense, and the credit will be in the medical aid fund liability account. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5. One for each week from your wages journal. Total contribution 340 Rand. And then from our salaries journal, medical aid yet again 3,200 Rand. The total cost for the business is 3,200 Rand that the business will pay towards the medical aid of the employees for salary earners. And then all of this is owed to the medical aid. So that is why we will now post this is the debit and then the credit will be in the medical aid fund account. So if we now look at the fund account, so this is the total cost to company, the total debits for the contributions. So if we look at the fund account, first of all, they give us a balance brought forward from the list of balances as 11,220 Rand. Now, the medical aid fund has a deduction and a contribution. Money deducted from the salary as part which was included in your gross salary, and an additional contribution by the business on behalf of the employee. So for each week and at the end of the month, there must be 2 transactions, a deduction and a contribution, because the debits are in 2 accounts. The one, gross salary or wages, and the other one in the contribution account. So when we enter this, the credit comes from the deductions, which is your salary and wages, and the contributions, which is your contribution expense accounts. So that is where the debit entry was, because it's total cost to company, total expense, and now we need to credit twice, once for the deduction and once for the contribution. So the deduction plus the contribution is what is paid to the fund, and that is why both needs to be recorded in the fund account. So first of all, in week 1 we have wages, the which is deduction 340 Rand. So the employee pays 340 Rand from their salary, and the business contributes 1-to-1 for the same amount on behalf of the employee to the fund. So in total, the fund will receive 680 Rand from the business, but one half of it is from the employee's salary and the second half is out of the business pocket. So the one is your deduction and the other one is your contribution. So the deduction links to the salaries or the wages account, therefore referencing wages or salaries, and then the contribution links to the medical aid contribution account. And you will do that for the end of each week. So week 1 is now what you see. Then we have week 2 on the 9th. First, remember the deduction and the contribution. Week 3, the deduction and the contribution. Week 4, the deduction and the contribution. Week 5, the deduction and the contribution. And this is for each week from the wages. And now you have to do the same for the salaries journal. So at the end of the month for the salaries, the deduction and the contribution. And now we have to still post the CPJ transaction. So step 3 is post the CPJ. But now on the date of payment, so pension fund, medical aid and UIF is paid on the 7th of the following month. So therefore this balance that is brought forward here is due on the 7th of this month, because this is what was the total for August that is brought forward to September. Therefore now it needs to be paid on the 7th of September. So the opening balance is what we are going to pay on the 7th. So 7th bank CPJ 11,220 Rand. And now what is left over for this account? Just to balance off. So you add all your debits to get the total, then you carry it to the other side, minus your amount opposite, and that will be your balance brought down. And this balance brought down of 9,800 Rand will be paid on the 7th of the following month. In other words, the 7th of October. Now we continue with the next contribution and deduction. So, yet again, remember step 1 is to record the debits, the cost to company, which will be our pension fund contribution. And just to speed things up a bit, we look at the total account here. So, the total brought forward here is from the list of balances, and then we have a contribution for each week from the wage journal, and then end of the month from the salaries journal. So this is your total cost to company, the total debits or expense for the business regarding pension fund. Now we have to post the fund account. So the credits is now the money owed to the fund. In other words, that's the deduction plus the contribution. Remember, the deduction comes from the salaries or wages gross amount. So it's already posted, the debit is already recorded in the salaries and wages expense account, and the credit must now go to the fund. So if we look at it, the deductions which links to the gross salaries or wages is the wages 688 or the salaries 5,300 Rand. So one for each week of the month for wages, and a total for salaries at the end of the month. That's your deduction that links to the gross salaries or wages expense accounts. That is where your debit is, and the credit is now in the fund account. And then your contribution. So the contributions, yet again, was on the previous slide. So that was the total contributions was debited in the pension fund contribution account. So if the employee pays 688 and the employer pays 1,960 Rand. So excuse me, you will have to look at what is the ratio, or what do they say in the information. In this case, the salaries and wages journal was given to us, so we just post straight from there. But sometimes they give this to us in the form of different transactions, and then they will just state, if the employee pays 688, the employer pays 1,960 Rand. So you just need to follow the instructions in the additional information if they didn't give you a salaries or a wage journal. So step 3 is to post the CPJ. So it's paid, remember, on the 7th of the following month. Thus, the opening balance here will be paid on the 7th of the following month. So there, the opening balance, which is the amount due for August, was paid the 7th of September. So that is where they get why they use the 29,226 Rand. And then you balanced out your account to get your balance carried down and brought down. And remember, this 31,387 Rand will then be paid on the 7th of October. Now we continue. with the UIF. Remember, the debits is the total cost to company. So that is the debits contribution. Okay. So all of these are the total contributions. And remember, where is the debit for the deduction must be in the wages or in the salaries expense accounts, because the deduction is part of gross wages and gross salaries. So number 2, the credits is the money owed to the fund, which is the deductions, okay, which links to the salaries or wages expense, and the contributions that links to the contribution accounts. So yet again, remember that the contribution debit is in the contribution account and the credit is in the fund account. And the same, the deduction here for, let's say, the wages will be part of the debit in the wages expense account. Then step 3, posting the CPJ. Yet again, remember that this is now paid on the 7th of the following month. So amount due is the 1,554 Rand. That is now paid on the 7th of September. And then you balance out. So this 1,678 Rand will then brought down, will be paid on the 7th of October next month. And the last one, skills development fund contribution. Remember, skills development is only a contribution, it's not a deduction. So the debit is the total cost to company, and then the credit will be in the skills development fund. But now you will see there's no reference to wages or to salaries, because this is only a contribution. The business by law must pay 1% of their total wage and salaries expense towards the skills development fund, and it's not a deduction, it's only a contribution. So the debits is in the contribution account and the credit is on the fund account. And as I said, there's only mention of the contribution because it's only a contribution, it's not a deduction as well. And then post the CPJ on the date of payment. So the balance brought forward from August, which is in our opening balance for September, will be paid on the 7th of September, 770 Rand. And then the 839 Rand, that is your new balance carried down and brought down, will be paid on the 7th of October. Now, boys and girls, I'm sure that it feels like your head is spinning and this seems very confusing. But remember, just be calm and follow your steps. So step 1, record the debits, total cost to company in the expense accounts. Step 2 is to record the credits in the fund accounts, amounts due to the funds. And then step 3, posting the CPJ, debiting the contra accounts, crediting bank. And then you cannot go wrong. Thank you for listening, and remember, the more you do this, the less confusing it will seem and the easier it will become. And the other thing I want to say is that activity 4 is very detailed. It includes every possible scenario, posting from the journals right through to the general ledger. In an exam, or a test, it is impossible to ask all of these things. So they will focus only on a few ledger accounts or on the CPJ rather than asking all of this in an exam. They might have a test that includes all of this, but not in the exam. And the next activity 5 is an exam type question that we will look at, and you will see that it seems way easier. So thank you for listening, and goodbye from me, Mrs. de Mylon.